Welcome to another stage analysis video. It is Wednesday the 8th of February and we're going to do a special feature tonight. A big part of Stan Weinstein's stage analysis method is what we call the forest to the trees approach. Those that follow my work regularly will know we do this quite often, trying to focus in on what the strongest groups are doing. So part of the method is actually looking for, once we start getting stocks appearing consistently in the watch list, group themes starting to rise up the RS rankings, then we want to then focus in on those groups and see where the leading stocks in the groups are, what's moving, etc., what's not, what's lagging, in order to then focus in on the best areas of the group. As, for example, a group such as Semiconductors has got up to around 100 stocks or so, depending on what markets you're looking at. If you're just looking at the NASDAQ and the NYSE, it's around 90 stocks or so. But so still reasonably large group comparative to many others. And so you need to then drill down into that group and use different techniques in order to look for the strongest areas where your potential leader is. As obviously you only have a limited amount of capital that you can invest in any individual stock or group or etc. So we need to cut it down to a much smaller list and see what's moving and what's not, basically. So in this regard, let's start with the overall group ETF. So there's a number of ETFs you can use. The SOXX, which is a little bit different to the SMH. The SMH has one of the larger volumes going for it. So this one broke out into stage 2 about 3 weeks ago now. You can see here on the weekly bar, highlighted it at the time, same as the timers, the likes of Nvidia, etc., the larger caps from the group. You can see it's had a really deep stage 4 decline. Actually, in the end, it did have only a small, did lag a little bit initially, but then has came back in again, formed a inverse head and shoulders. Bottom has now started to break back out into stage 2. So if we look from the bottom to where we are currently, it's moved up around 50% or so off of the lows since the October lows, but it's been consistently appearing in the stage analysis watch list, different stocks from the group over the course of the last 4 months or so. So I thought today would be a good time to zoom in a little bit on the group and see what's actually going on in the internals. You can see here relative strength has moved back above the zero, what we call the Mansfield zero line. So the Mansfield relative strength, which is the 52-week moving average, versus the S&P 500 here. So you can see we've crossed over that line, strongly above that, which is now rising. You can see it's starting to turn up here, and the relative cumulative line there is also well above that. If you look at this on a daily basis, you can see it's trending above its 21-day moving average, 50-day and 200-day moving averages, which are all stacked in the right order now, which is what we want to see in a stage 2 advance. And 200-day moving average is starting to flatten out finally here. So if we look at it again, you can see, as I said, that inverse head and shoulders look to it on this daily chart. If we zoom out on this a little bit, add the ATR band, you can see it's holding above the +1 ATR level. So this middle line here is the 21-day moving average, and then each band above is +1 ATR on top of that. So this level here, this 1 ATR level, is what we consider in a short-term uptrend. So generally, when the price is holding above that, you can consider it in a short-term uptrend. You do get dips below, but you can see when you're in a downtrend, it does the opposite. This is the -1 ATR level. You can see the vast majority of the price action when you're in a downtrend actually formed below the -1 ATR level. So this is one of the things I do with the market breadth, is looking for stocks above their +1 ATR level versus the stocks below their -1 ATR level. So it can give you a really good short-term indication of strength and weakness. So at the moment, this is trending above its +1 ATR level there. Occasional dips up to the 3 ATR level where it gets a little bit short-term extended. So when I refer to things as short-term extended, it tends to be that they've closed above the 3 ATR level. At that point, it often needs a consolidation or a pullback of some sort. So we're now in a reasonable position between the 1 and the 2 ATR level, and obviously above the relative strength line here. We can obviously change this relative strength line. You can see obviously the move above the zero line here that we call it, but you can change that zero line. So at the moment, 252 days on the daily is approximate to the 52-week chart. But if we change that to a short-term figure down to a 50-day moving average on that, you can see all the way back in November this started to cross over and has been trending higher since. You can also change this to another way that I like to do this is you can change this to invisible, just have the moving average showing. So you can see here the change. It was trending lower, then mid-November time started to trend up. So at this point through here semiconductors started to become much more significant again. And as we know, that was the point where we got this big bar here, change of behavior, started to show signs of stage 1 developing, although obviously it had been forming price action in the similar area before that during stage 4, which obviously you always get during stage 1. So when you're forming a stage 1 base, a lot of the actual stage 1 base will form during when it's still in stage 4. So you don't know it's in stage 1 until you get that change behavior, and then obviously starts to form potentially higher lows or a spring type action, etc. Right, let's move on to this is what we call the stage analysis technical attribute score. So this is another way of looking at this, give you a good guide. So this goes back a little bit longer here, all the way back to late 2018. The red areas are when the stage analysis technical attribute score is a 3 or below. The green areas are when it's a 7 or above. So 7 or above tends to be stage 2 type environment, and 3 and below tends to be a stage 4 environment, but it's not exact in that regard, because as you can see, we were in a score of a 7 and above for 2 weeks before it actually broke out into stage 2 here. So we'll get that one off, don't want that. You can see if I draw the line across here, it was these 2 weeks here, it was already a 7 or above at that point, but the actual stage 2 breakout week was here. So this is your stage 2 breakout level as such. So currently we're on a SATA score of an 8. So as you can see, this has been improving. We're back to levels that we haven't seen since late 2021, which was obviously at the top. But generally, once we get above a 7, it does tend to hold above there, with a few dips back below into the middle ranges. Right, let's move on to the individual stocks. So